Laurie DiDonato is here. Dan Keller.
Here.
Gillian Boudin here. Okay, we're all here, so we can call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Are there any announcements? I can just quickly announce that I did finally realize I have to do the select board annual report. And I started working on it, and I was almost hoping to have it done for tonight, but
Wow, well, you're making a lot of progress then.
I wasn't sure if we have to, does the committee have to approve it?
It probably is not
with
a
a
bad
vote?
idea,
So,
mainly because, you know, there might be something to forget.
I mean, I definitely would want everybody to look at it. I didn't know if we needed to vote to
Oh, I don't
approve it
think
at a
we need to-
meeting.
We don't need
Okay,
to vote.
all right, so then I'll circulate it in the next week or so.
Right.
Anything else?
Not for me.
And public comment, seeing as there's no public, if we can skip that.
Someone just joined, actually.
Oh.
I'm just here from the recorder. How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you? Oh, and
Hello.
Phil's here too. Hey, Phil.
What does it say up at the top? There's a little thing up at the top.
Oh, just as stay co-host. All right, so I don't hear any public comment. Any other select board updates or comments?
No.
The meeting schedule and warrant schedule is noted on the agenda and is going to continue to align to the end of March. All right, and Phil, project coordinator update is next. Are you there?
Hi,
Here.
this is,
Oh.
you said project coordinator, you want me already? You guys are fast, I just turned you on.
Stuff, yeah.
So nice to see you all. I have a few things. I'm on later on the agenda for getting a couple of contracts, or rather bids awarded, giving you a notice to proceed on some of the projects. So I'll hold off on some of those details for now. The real current thing right now, I think, is the culvert at Moment Hollow that we want to discuss. And that is that we talked about holding off on doing the reconstruction or the repair to that culvert back in January, because the weather was turning and, you know, there was some uncertainty of costs, and it just seemed prudent to hold off on doing that repair at that time, which we did. I've had some communications from Davenport recently, and they understand now that we're looking at, and I've suggested that we wait till probably maybe May, till the weather's really warm, till the reason being that I think we could get a better repair at that time. And I think that Davenport, I've asked them actually to provide a fixed cost, considering that they have all the engineering in place now, and that we will look forward to doing that project in warmer weather. And they've agreed to do that, but they, you know, they still want to absolve themselves of any responsibility for any issues that may arise through holding off on doing that repair. And I've said that, and I've got the highway guys monitoring the temporary repair. So I think we're in good shape to wait for a while. And I think we have other options that we can discuss down the road, and some of those might be, in fact, going out to bid for that repair. It may be, anyway, we're okay for now, and I think that there's no need to rush into agreeing to spending the unlimited funds that I think were previously proposed. So that's all I have to say about that, except that you know, we'll continue focused on making sure the repair is holding, that we'll consider other options, and we'll look forward to getting that fixed when weather is better.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, The other thing, other than the items that are coming up later, we did talk about putting together a list of all town buildings and trying to work up a schedule of maintenance and repairs. And I'm working on that. I think it's going to take a little time. We want to do a little surveying with people that are involved in different buildings. Some of the other people involved in doing specific tasks for repairs. And so I'm estimating somewhere probably around the maybe beginning of April, I'll have a presentation for the board that will include a summary of all the buildings the town owns and repair suggestions, maybe some costs. So something we can look forward to on that.
Great, that's awesome.
Good. The only thing that's left over from last year, we have the police station. The heating systems are available. They're in. I just spoke with Casey, the plumber today, and Casey Bashaw, and he's going to schedule to get those installed within the next week or so. And so that building will be completely finished, and that'll be nice. And it's been a nice project. It's good for the town. I'm sure you're aware or recall all of the circumstances. The town still owns the building. We've got a completely refurbished, environmentally viable building. No matter what the police do with it, they don't seem to be doing much of anything, but it's good. The building's finished. It will be finished. The other thing is we have the library still is waiting. We held off doing the painting in the cellar because of all the roofing and the water drainage issues that we took care of last year. So that's going to be coming up. That will most likely be an ARPA cost. It shouldn't be significant. We had bids last year in the area between $3,000 and $4,000 that for scraping and repairing the interior walls of the basement and recoating them.
Bill, I've got a question for you about the police station before we get too far ahead.
Sure.
Do you know where the police station gets its electricity from at the moment?
Where it
And
gets,
if
where
it's
it gets
covered by its electricity, does it come from the town hall?
oh,
And is it covered by the generator that the emergency generator that the town hall has?
actually, Dan, I'm not aware of that, of where it comes from, but I will find out. I know that we had Steve Canning, they put a new service in there and it's all been upgraded. But where the source of electricity is and whether or not it's on the generator, I can get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, sure.
I also had a question. Is it for all of us, I guess, is it possible that we could take the money for the painting of the basement out of our town building maintenance? Because we have funds available in that line and not touch the ARPA right now.
Sure.
If you think that's advisable, you think that's better?
I think it's better. We seem to have quite a bit of money in that line this year, and ARPA's good for a little while longer, so
Okay,
until the dust settles a little, I think it might be good to.
okay.
That's fine.
As far as I know, last year we were discussing just that. That was always a consideration whether we use the town maintenance fund or other sources. And since ARPA seemed to be readily available at that time, that's what the source was that we were using.
Right, it just seems a little tighter at this point than when we were talking before.
I think we want to, that would be, I think whatever you decide is fine for me. I think we just want to look at ARPA and whether or not there are some, what's the term, with daylight, does it expire at a certain time? We have to have the money spent by a certain time. We want to keep an eye on that.
We have plenty of time with that, actually.
I think we have at least another year, if not two.
If I can, next meeting, I could kind of give an overview of where we are with ARPA, what has been spent, what has been kind of a encumbered or promised. And, there's two different arguments. I think Doug's argument was use the money in ARPA because any unspent money in the town building repairs line could become eventually get converted into free cash. The other argument is use ARPA money for more strategic things such as, hiring people to write grants. So can look at the big picture and the select board can choose which direction you want to go.
Sounds good.
Yep. So I'd say, Phil, just check with us before you commit it one way or another.
Okay, just to I guess to say, recently enough conversation have taken place about the management of the funds, and it's all been admirable and welcome. So anything that I'm coordinating or setting up for expenses are going to go by your board for votes, whether contracts or awarding contracts or agreeing to, expenses. So agreed.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, good.
Good.
Right, if you're all done, we'll move on to the town coordinator update. With Glenn.
Okay. Well, I participated in the first OSHA meeting with the Franklin County Waste Management District. The first one was about planning for weather-related emergencies, and there's some forms and templates and whatnot. It seems like the project is primarily being driven by the district applied for a grant through their insurance to provide some training to member towns. So it doesn't sound like there's any particular, we kind of have these resources available when and if we're interested in creating an emergency plan for rats around weather emergencies. But I did attend and represented. I also attended a brief webinar from MMA on managing municipal meetings, and can report back that it seems like Wendell's in pretty good shape with the select board, or at least the select board's in good shape with the operating procedures that you all approved. I think that's the kind of thing that they are recommending. Deerfield was there, and they had a lot of community engagement related to the Dollar General coming in. They weren't 100% prepared for that and made some missteps and had to work with lawyers and whatnot on tightening up their policies around public comment and things like that. I'll post those resources to the coordinator page when I get a chance. And then on Friday, Aaron Saunders, our representative, led a delegation of folks to tour the Swift River School and discuss the PFAS issue there. There were, I think, about 6 of us and 10 of them all crowded in the meeting room. And I think it was useful for them. It was administrators, a lot of folks from the Clean Water Revolving Fund, and other agencies. And frankly, I didn't get a list. It was kind of hard to keep track of where everyone was coming from. But they seemed to get a lot out of coming to the school and hearing firsthand from the superintendent, the principal, and from the town administrators about that issue. And it seems like small change.
Uh-oh.
Glenn, you're frozen. Come back. Oh, good. You're
You're
back.
back.
Back, okay. Anyway, so that they seem to value hearing directly from us about what that situation's been like for us. And then there was a presentation at the Franklin Regional Council of Governments on the Clean Water Revolving Funds, which is essentially zero interest or low interest loans. Towns can apply for projects like PFAS remediation, except that they operate on much longer timeframes. Like it takes 2 or 3 years to submit and get approved and get the money, but they do have some funding available or loans available on an emergency basis. So that might be something we need to look at. But the other thing I learned from that is that there was someone there who said they can provide technical assistance. So sometimes if we have questions where we might be inclined to pick up the phone and call Tig and Bond, our engineers on the project. Well, every time we do that, the meter starts running, but they say they have ability to answer some of those questions as well. I didn't get the contact info for the folks, but I'm sure Aaron Saunders can provide it at some point. So, or the FERCog will send out an email with the participants from the event. So anyway, that was interesting to attend. And then I just completed, this is so you all know, there's some IT projects I've been working on behind the scenes, just completed today, getting all the laptops that we purchased for the town connected with Entree for our tech provider for monitoring. So that is now on all of those relevant computers. And then the next thing we need to do for our insurance, our cyber security insurance, is we need to get everyone who's using the town email on to multi-factor authentication, which is kind of where when you log in, you get a text message or you use an app just to confirm that you are the person you say you are. So I haven't quite figured out how to roll that out, but we need to do that by July 1 to be eligible for the cybersecurity insurance. And I think that's my report.
Great,
Thanks for all that, Glenn. That's quite a handful.
yeah, been
Yeah,
busy.
A busy
Yeah.
period, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we can move on to our consent agenda, which looks like it contained lots of minutes. The CDBG hearing and select board meeting on February 1st, the tree hearing and joint meeting on February 2nd. Is that right? And the select board meeting on the 9th.
Mhm.
Does anybody want to remove any of those from the consent agenda?
No,
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
And are there any discussion, comments on any of that?
Just a couple spelling. On the February 2nd joint meeting with tree warden, Danny Boyden is Boyden. I think it's listed as Boynton.
Okay, must have had that wrong myself.
And then February 9th, on page 3, it refers to the RAP grant, WRAP, I believe. And then in some places it's listed as RAP. That's it.
Okay. Anything else? All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, so we're all set with that. And moving on to old business, we have the warrant for the special town meeting.
I don't know if we want to wait with the finance committee on this one. There is one item there that is connected to the finance committee.
I'm fine with that. Do we know if Cliff was gonna come tonight?
Yeah, he's meant to be here at 7:30.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the Hilltown Network MOU? That you, Gillian?
Yeah, well, so the MOU with Hilltown, we began working on quite a while ago when Dan was actually the chair of the board. So that needs to be edited as well. And this was an attempt to come to an understanding, since we now have broadband in town, and when we were doing the work on the police station, there's equipment that had to be moved, and brought up the question about our agreement or lack of an agreement with Chris Gray and Hilltown Networks. So I didn't look back at the dates. I figured it doesn't really matter at this point, but he just returned this draft of a memorandum of understanding with some edits. Mostly the name Hilltown Networks and Christopher Gray. Edited some dates because we were not sure of the date of when this agreement began or was allowed. He did strike that we had said temporarily allow. He struck temporarily. And a little bit more of a clarification about the installation. That's the majority of it. And then at the end to fix a date. Which I think at this point is up for discussion. So I don't know what people think. Should we just make the edits and return it to him? Do people feel any differently at this point?
I'd like to take a look at it after the edits are made.
Okay. Would you like me to add the edits and then send it back out and we
It's
can
probably
consider it at
okay.
the next meeting?
Probably okay with him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's had it for over a year or two.
Okay, good to me. Works for everybody.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay,
But in terms of the substance, his edits look okay.
yes, I think the only thing he really changed was clarifying the initial agreement. Which I was not privy to, so I don't have any understanding of that. He also, one other change was if we request him to remove the equipment, or if it's no longer being used, if it's no longer being used, we had asked for it to be removed within 60 days. He requested 90 days instead. And then we can make a date of the duration of the agreement. He didn't say anything about that. We had requested a fee of $50 on July 1st of each year, offset the cost of electricity. He didn't say anything about that, so. Right. So we'll take one more look at it and then have it on the agenda for next meeting. Okay.
Sounds good.
It's in the meeting folder if anyone wants to print up a copy so people can see it with the edits and be ready to vote next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we can move on to the select board appropriations request, which I've asked to put on. And I can't remember if we've done this in the past, Dan, or if maybe Nancy did it. And we didn't have to worry about it. Looking at all the different appropriations that the select board gets every year. And I just wanted to make sure that we were good with everything on here before we tell them that this is what we want. Everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I can print out a copy.
Most of them I think are fine. I looked at it earlier.
Uh-huh.
Like the select board salaries, obviously will stay. The different clerks. I know that, I don't know if we usually put in a little bit extra in our appropriation. In case maybe we're gonna up any wages over the year. But like, I was checking with Ashley Penna, who is the shared clerk. And she said her annual right now is 2,600, but we had it at 2,845 last year. So I don't know. I know her role has changed a little bit. but I don't know what people think. And I know somehow last year, the hourly clerk, I think Cynthia's position was higher. I'm not sure why that is, because it should be just 1,800.
No, I took a look at it, but what I didn't compare it to the current. I guess that's the current budget, but I'm, like you're saying, that
Yeah,
there's some
FY
differences.
23
I'm not sure,
appropriations. Yeah.
where that difference is coming from.
Okay. I can ask maybe Glenn, things like bulk mailing and the town annual report appropriations, did you look at those and do you know, have a feel for if keeping them the same is okay?
I haven't looked at them. I do have the information on the bulk mailing, so I should be able to tell, because we added the photocopying. Let me just see. I can quickly look.
Great, thank you.
And I wonder if, I remember at one point Doug was talking about putting in a little extra money somewhere for when the coordinator is away, to be able to have someone offer a little extra help, but I haven't been able to make use of that. And haven't, I mean, I guess I just kind of caught up when I got back, kind of thing, rather than having someone kind of fill in. I don't know if that's why it went up to 3,500.
Yeah, and the coordinator isn't here, so that must be under a different,
This is on line item.
it's its own line item, okay.
And these look all fine to me, the way they are, Lori.
Okay. The Veterans Memorial, is that all finished? We don't necessarily need to have more funding for that.
Well, there's two different lines.
Oh,
There's the Veterans Memorial here, and then there's a revolving account.
right, okay.
And then there's the Veterans Memorial upgrade, which I think is zero at this point.
Okay, right. So we do have 200 just for ongoing maintenance kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that
then
makes
the,
sense.
I guess it's not really up for discussion right now.
I think we also paid for flags out of the veterans account, flags on the common.
I was actually just talking to Harry Williston today about that, and he gave me a call. The warm weather made him think of it.
Mhm.
We have, I think, about $1,500 left in the revolving account that was used to do the recent upgrade.
Mhm.
And how do we decide? Like, can we use that money for the flags?
So,
Yeah,
It's Harry, I would think, and Deb, were on the Veterans Committee.
okay,
I would think they could make decisions like that.
yeah, he was pleased to hear that there's still some money there, and
mhm.
I think there's, I talked about the possibility if we could put something in the newsletter going out, that if people would like to contribute to the Veterans Memorial, we just need to make sure it's worded correctly in terms of if they drop off a check or something to support new flags for.
Mhm. Yeah, good.
Okay. So again, I'm not sure what the mediation account is, but see no reason to change it.
The mediation account is when we get in trouble or
Okay,
we need to organize a mediation for somebody else, another department or whatever.
okay.
But we have definitely used it, and it's not very expensive, so that line is
Right.
probably enough for the time being.
I did notice our select board expenses went, like it's being spent. I don't know. I don't know all of what's coming out of that. Do you know, Glenn?
A lot of random stuff that kind of doesn't have a home elsewhere in the budget ends up coming out of select board expenses.
Okay. But maybe we give it another year at this budget and see where we're at.
Sure, it's fine with me.
It does look
Oh,
like the
what's the-
bulk mail has gone up fairly substantially. If 750 was for 4 newsletters, we're paying somewhere between 300 and 450.
So that probably would need to be doubled.
Yeah,
Okay, can do that. And the fund for the town report, which is already at that about 1,400. That might be okay still, maybe.
maybe, yeah. I think I don't know if, I know sometimes smaller quantities aren't less expensive, but I think there seems to be a consensus that we won't need the same quantities that have been printed in the past.
And we use the sheriff's office for that, so it generally is much less expensive than printing it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, and the rec committee, I'm not sure why that's under our appropriations. Do you have any ideas on that, Dan?
It's, I think the rec committee doesn't have a official budget line. So they
Okay.
just operate out of our budget.
Okay,
So the only thing that we had this year come as an expense to the rec committee was swimming lessons. Like,
Yeah,
that was kind of a mess, but it worked out, right, Glenn?
It did work out in the end, yeah.
Okay,
They bill New Salem and then New Salem bills us, and I wrote to the Y and asked, can you just bill us directly for our portion, and never heard back, so it's that kind of a thing.
okay.
But yeah, I thought I mean, it's not under the select board line item, the rec committee, so might be worth checking with the finance committee when they come in about why that's on our sheet. It could be an error.
Okay, maybe it's just because there's no committee. Is there a committee?
good
no,
guess.
there's one person right now.
That's
Stephanie
probably
Burke.
why.
That's it.
All right. that
But maybe
makes
they
sense.
didn't hear anything back, and so they're wanting.
Okay. All right, so we'll keep all the salaries where they are with sort of a big chunk of padding for the hourly clerk, based on what you said about Doug's idea. And I think everything else is covered, so we probably don't need to make any changes.
Can I just ask, and I'm sorry if I missed it, what's this little 670 select board expenses?
Aaron Owen, FaceTime video.
I don't know, but it's not there for it wasn't there last year, so we might just be able to ignore it.
It could be, the ones with the 001 could be ones where, or where there's like the bulk mail mailings has 2 lines too, and that could be where, maybe I encumbered some money to pay bills of prior year, not knowing what might be coming in, but I think all of our bills of prior year are taken care of, so some of those lines might go away. Maybe I should check with Aaron about how to close those out.
Okay,
The only
Okay.
one that actually I did ask to have some money carried over for the 2021 annual report, so. And I don't see that having 2 lines, so I don't know what, maybe I'm not correct about that.
or maybe you put it under the select board expenses.
I don't think so. I think I
No,
might have
okay.
encumbered it under the town report. Can look into it.
Okay, so other than the change in the bulk mailings, everything will continue, stay the same as last year. Good, thanks. Should we do the highway
Yeah, sure.
contracts and such, Bill?
A little clarification, these aren't really highway expenses, so I'll clarify that with Glenn for the next, if it's on the agenda again, but These are more like town projects, and they're coming out of, you know, the coordinator's position. So we have 3 contracts that I want to discuss and get votes on. The first is the, on the list is consulting for the landfill capping. So we have, I think I'm sure that we've talked about it at some level, but we did put out a bid to hire a consultant to oversee the monitoring wells. We hired Franklin County Council for doing the procurement for that. That was approved a couple of months ago. So we have 2 bids that have come in. We have, they're very similar. In fact, they use the same well drilling company, but one company is owned by the principal engineer, and his price was somewhat lower. And I thought his application was more complete. So we have two proposals, and one is from a company called Atlas. The other is from WJF Engineering, and that's the principal's initials. But so I'm recommending that we give a contract to this company, WJF, to provide engineering for the town and to oversee the installation of monitoring wells and to coordinate with DEP and the town over the final resolution of the state requirements for capping at the former landfill. Just an overview of that is that we have a $75,000 earmark from the state. We have so far contracted, or I'm sorry, we have discussed already hiring FERCog to do the procurement. We have an existing contract, which I negotiated, and I did not bring it to the board. I think I maybe discussed it with one of your members, but it seemed relatively minor. So I went ahead and set that up, but we're going to vote for that now as well, or discuss it. So far with the $75,000 earmark, we have a project for tree removal. And that is around $8,500. That's the high end of that estimate. And now we have also we have the FERCog procurement contract, which we have already discussed. And now we have this engineering consultant to hire to monitoring the monitoring wells, and to consult with DEP on the final resolution. So
What was the actual bid on that?
on the monitoring, the engineer,
Yeah,
we have a bid of, hang on a second, I'll pull up the number. I want to say it's around, it is about, his bid is $10,852 for the engineering. But attached to that is an estimate from the monitoring well installer himself, which is a separate company, which he will subcontract with. That's another $7,400. So that contract to the engineering and the installation of the monitoring wells appears to be around $18,000. It's going to depend on the conditions of the soils. If they hit rock, there'll be some variation in those costs. But that's essentially what I have for information at this point. So about $18,000 for that. We agreed to approximately $1,200 to FERCog for the procurement, and the tree cutting contract is around the high end of that is $8,500. So far we have about $2,600 committed out of that $75,000. So that will leave the remainder of that sum. The only thing, I mean, we're gonna have to do a lot of moving of fill. That those I don't have numbers on that yet, but we will work on that. And DEP is being very patient and cooperative. They're being helpful with this whole engineering procurement process and what exactly they need. So that's all working well. There will be you know, there are unknown costs, and we're gonna just develop those along the way, but we have the $75,000 now, and that's all contracted for and agreed to by the state. So it's not costing the town anything at this point. So for tonight's purposes, I would like to ask the board to, just to put it on the record, hang on a second, on my page. We have 2 votes that are related to the capping at the landfill. And the first is that I have met with, I want to say about 6 different entities to get someone to agree to do the tree cutting that's needed to put the monitoring wells in. And finally did agree to a project with Dave Wilder Jr., who does tree cutting professionally. He has the equipment and the machinery to do it. He's given us a price of 60, excuse me. The high was $8,500. I think we had a variable price, $6,250 to $8,500, depending on how much and how extensive we got, because it wasn't decided at that point where the monitoring wells would have to go. Now we have that information, so we can fix that price, but those are the basic parameters. So to summarize, I want to ask the town to approve the contract with Dave Wilder Jr. for tree cutting at the landfill site in preparation for installation of monitoring wells. And again, this is earmark funded from DOT.
Not to exceed 8,500.
His contract at this point is the high end is 8,500, yes.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
This is just on the tree removal.
This is just on the tree removal.
Okay, that sounds good.
You got all that, Cynthia?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay,
And Cynthia, if you need me to forward you my wording, I'd be happy to do that. But if you've got it, great.
Well, that would be even better. That would be great, Phil.
Okay. Can you give me an email just real quick and I'll send some things to you?
I will put it in the chat for you.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
So
right.
moving
well,
moving
let's
on.
just have to vote, Phil. I think
Oh,
there was no
sorry.
discussion, so all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, that passes.
Okay,
All right,
so
go ahead.
the second vote for the same project, the capping at the landfill, we had 2 bids. We had Atlas and we had WJF companies. Again, they were pretty close, but I like the WJF company mainly because I mentioned he's the owner operator and he'll be very responsive. His price was actually lower. And he gave me more information about the well drilling costs, so that was helpful. So I'm going to ask the town vote to approve the award of the contract to WJF Engineering to provide services for installation of monitoring wells and coordination with Department of Environmental Protection on landfill closing. That is likewise earmark funded.
So move.
I'll second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 All that's passed.
Okay, great. So that's kind of exciting, that project going forward and is being paid for by the state. So we have no complaints there. It's all good. I'm concerned when we find out the cost of getting filled to make those slopes and regraded and all that. That's going to be massive. But I'm saying that just as a heads up. So if anybody hears about any town land that land that is being potentially auctioned by the town, we should consider holding on to that for sites for landfill use. So my last vote, my request, it has to do with the highway barn.
Phil, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
I'm assuming, is this something that we should bring to the FinCom's
Which part of it?
attention? that we might need additional funds, like the cost of the fill is unknown. And
We
It
could,
might
we
be
can
a
do that
little-
at any time. I might be more effective if we have a better idea of how
The
much. that
cost,
would be.
yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention that I also I've asked an surveyor to establish boundary lines at the landfill site. I don't have a number. I haven't signed a contract. He's going to get back to me, but we're very close to a neighbor. It was land that was just sold to, I believe, Audubon last year. And we're very close to them where we have to extend those slopes. And also we're considering using the backside of that property for the future tree farm. I don't think I'm saying it right, the tree.
Wood bank.
The tree bank, thank you. So that is an expense that will get added at some point, but I don't have any numbers on that.
Okay,
But as far as, he's also going to provide a as-built survey of the site. So when we're all done, DEP wants an as-built plan for what the surveying for that, but the new landfill is. So I don't really know the cost, Gillian. I think it probably, we can wait. It's not going to happen this year anyway. I think we're going to take care of all the preliminaries that we're not sure how much the town crew can do. If we find some soils available in town that we can haul in, with town trucks and things, that's going to greatly reduce the cost. And like I say, fortunately, DEP is being very patient and cooperative. So I think we've got plenty of time to work on that.
good.
Okay. The final item is the roofing at the barn. And this is really surprising, but last year we had a quote. In fact, we considered awarding a bid at $73,000. And that would be for the materials and roofing, replacing the metal roof on the barn in preparation of potentially putting solar panels on. If you recall, we had some issues develop after the bidding, and I have to own some of that. It was having to do with procurement. There were questions that came up after the bid was awarded that had not been resolved in the process of the procurement, and the conversations got, I want to say, acrimonious. And we decided that we would not award the contract. It just wasn't going to go forward in a positive way. So we held off and we rebid it. So we have a new bid of $22,500 to actually install the roofing, and we purchased the roofing ourselves last fall because we were already committed to that in the previous bid cycle. So now that it looks like we're going to get the project done for less than $40,000, when in fact it was first bid at 73. So that's good. And we have a local contractor who has the lowest bid. We have the materials already on site, so that's all set to go. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Did that
So I'm gonna ask-
73,000 include the materials, or is that just labor?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
The 73,000 bid, did that include the materials?
It did last year, yes. And that's why I went ahead, we got the materials set up, and we made the decision to go ahead and purchase the materials because we had already ordered, or there was tentatively an order made in the awarding of the bid, but then the bid fell through, or the contract fell through.
Okay.
So we have the materials, and now the materials were they're about 15,000. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But the materials and the new bid from Hayden Roofing and we had FERCog do the procurement for this round. So now the total cost for that roof replacement is under 40,000.
So did the roof replacement include beefing up the structure?
Yes, that includes repairing the roof truss that was missing. And that was based on an engineer from Bob Leet, who, by the way, donated his services and would not provide an invoice for that. But it does include the contractor replacing and repairing that truss that's missing, according to the engineering.
Thanks.
So, good, yep. So my request is that we vote to approve, or that you vote to approve the award of the contract for the repair of the highway barn roof to Hayden Roofing. That's it.
22,500.
22,000 was 400. And interestingly, we have 10 bids we got for that, just so you know, and the highest one was $107,000.
Oh,
So
Amazing.
I think we just have to be more aware that this whole bidding thing is, it varies greatly. You have to be very particular with what you ask for. But, so,
Well, I'll make the motion as you stated it.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Can you just remind me where the money's coming from?
this is
Yeah,
this is chapter 90 funded.
Okay,
We put in a request that chapter 90 funds be used because it's for the highway barn, and they had approved that last year. And in fact, that's going to aid us because we put in a request for 75,000. So that money will return back to be able to be used for the town that we're saving here.
Excellent.
for culvert.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right, that passes too.
Okay.
Thank you
well,
for
thank-
making everything so clear, Phil, and making it
Yes.
so easy.
Well, good. It takes going over it a couple times to get the wording good. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Bill.
well,
Sounds
you're
good.
all very welcome. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you, Phil. Did my email address show up? You got that?
I'm not as technologically expert as probably you are, but I'll find it. Let's, if I don't, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get it to you, Phil.
Okay, yep. Thanks, Glenn. Good night.
Hey, Phil. All right, it's 7:52. I don't see Cliff. I'm wondering if we should just have a quick conversation about trees. And one of us can get in touch with him if we need to after the fact.
I did email him to, with the link in case he needed it.
Does that seem okay?
Yeah.
I know both Gillian and I were a little worried after seeing that letter.
Yeah, and, Glenn, you pointed out that that was a letter that was sent previously, not just recently.
Ryan Kress pointed that out. Ryan Kress is our contract
Okay.
with National Grid, and he sent a long email kind of spelling out all the communications that have happened and also the process they went through to determine that the trees are in fact on town land, including the opportunity for the people on the whose residence looks out on these trees, the opportunity for them to formally contest the ownership of the land, and they did not do that. So
Okay, I think with all the confusion we've had, it's been hard to sort of follow along what the process has been and what the communication has been.
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that we followed the steps we were supposed to follow. And
yeah.
I guess that's,
Well, I guess I do feel like if there's any way to save one or two more of those trees, it might be something. I mean, I can definitely see how somebody losing 5 trees that are, but they are part of, their land and their livelihood. And if there's any way that more, because right now it looks like we're just trying to save 1 out of 5. And I was looking back at the tree hearing, and it looks like Dan had agreed that 6 and 7 can go, but he still wanted 8 and 9, I think, to be left. If I'm reading this correctly. So I don't know, just the idea of taking 4 out of 5 huge trees off of somebody's lot when there is a chance they could live for 3 to 5 more years. Seems like if we can at all avoid it, maybe a bigger compromise could be made.
Yeah, I would say a compromise in favor of the landowner is a good idea. Especially just as you say, it's part of their world, their environment.
Yeah, on town land, but part of their environment, yeah.
Is it, worth us, and I don't mind trying, having a conversation with Dan about it, saying that we're willing to try to save these trees, but we would like some commitment on his part of recognizing when the trees might need to be trimmed further or come down in terms of, there's a lot of unknowns, but of being aware of the effect, the greater effect than just his property if those trees come down on the power lines.
Yeah, and that's what Ryan, said in his letter. He said, I will state that if a limb managed to come off a an S maple back in August from across the street and onto the lines on Locks Village Road and send a flaming limb down onto 29 Lock Village Road property when those trees are far further from the lines, basically countering the person that
The other forester.
yeah, Boyden hired their own arborist, I guess, and he's basically, Crest is pushing back and saying, no, these are, I don't know which ones in particular are the most dangerous, but it seems to be saying there is some real danger here.
And I would be told, I don't know how much of a difference this would make, but of course, even the one number 5 that we all agreed he could keep, it was gonna be heavily pruned. So I would think if we can agree to keep 1 or 2 additional trees, they would also be heavily pruned
Right.
to make sure that the biggest dangers are taken out.
Mhm.
And I'll just say, one reason why I'm coming back to this is because I had thought when in Cliff's recommendations, it meant that Dan had sort of agreed to it.
That was my understanding.
And I guess Cliff's later email made me realize that he probably hasn't agreed to it.
On the contrary,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I don't think it would be a bad idea to speak with property owner directly, like Gillian suggested, and just have a conversation and talk about it, and offer the possibility of holding on to more trees if they're pruned.
and I'm sure. Sorry, go ahead. Glenn.
The clock is ticking in terms of National Grid's ability to come in and do this work. Whenever they're done with Orange, which could be the end of, start of next week or then start of the week after that, they'll be back here and we'll need a decision. So the only risk is losing, National Grid doing the work at their expense versus ours if we wait too long. And it's hard to, can't give an exact date of when they're going to be done in Orange and when they're going to come back down here.
Well, and maybe this is something where we end up having to take the responsibility of having the trees trimmed on our dime because of the process that has not gone so smoothly.
Well,
We can do
if
what
we
we
have a
can.
quick conversation with the owner and come to an understanding, that shouldn't take too long.
I mean, I think Cliff has been talking to him all along, which I do feel like that's why we might need to have one more conversation with Cliff to see exactly where it was left when the last time he talked to Dan.
Can we delegate Gillian to talk to Cliff, and then
I'm not
if
sure.
she's willing?
I'm not sure I'm willing.
Okay.
I'm willing to talk to Dan.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
Well-
willing to talk to Cliff.
okay. I would be willing.
Can
to
we
do
work
that
together? Okay.
I had thought. Oh, and I feel like Cliff has already made it clear, or from what I remember at the tree hearing, he's told Dan that
if any trees that he gets to keep are gonna be heavily pruned. I feel like that
Yeah.
was something he has already made clear.
I think so, yeah.
So I think the question is, what made Cliff decide to remove all those trees? Even when Dan was still requesting they stay, if he has really strong feelings that they should come out, I guess I'd like to know that.
Yeah,
And if he still, if we can all agree that there's a good chance they're gonna live 3 to 5 more years. 2 of these trees, the ones he requested, which are number 8 and 9, I believe. That we can keep them. And in terms of what you said, Gillian, we might want to keep in mind that if we do let them stay, then the town might have the cost of removing parts of them later if they do come down. And we also still have a budget of $12,000, I believe, this year for tree work. And I don't know that any of that's been spent yet. Just. Okay, it might mean that we need some of that for tree damage from the storms and stuff like that. But
yeah.
it'll have to happen soon.
Hello,
Welcome.
welcome, everybody.
The FinCom is arriving.
So, Lori, do you want to follow up with Cliff,
Yeah,
be in
I'll
touch with
talk to
me,
Cliff.
and then I'll talk with Dan
Yeah.
and report back to you.
Good, how are you doing?
Oh, and
Working with our neighbor on the hill.
should we make some kind of a vote? Just to inform National Grid at this level of our thinking?
Yep. These two.
So we'll make a motion that we are likely going to opt to not remove trees 8 and 9, instead heavily prune them to be as safe as possible for the wires. Based on for a few further discussions with the tree warden and the homeowner, property owner.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are you reading from the minutes? So that,
These are from the tree hearing minutes.
okay, I just wanna, so I know what to reference.
And then there was also, Cynthia had a question about the motion that was made at the last meeting, whether it needed to be revised based on some tree numbers and making sure we're getting all the numbers correct. Cynthia, can you help brief us on that question?
Yes, I just did a amended motion just for me because at the tree hearing and then when I recorded the motion, I looked back at what Cliff was saying, and number 17 seemed to be the motion seemed to be incorrect as far as whether he was referring to number 17 or the oak to the left of number 17. I know it's a matter of reading it, but he didn't seem to be referring to number 17, and that was in the motion. Sorry, they messed things up even more.
Is this the one that's on the common?
I don't know. I don't know.
That he wanted to make a totem pole?
He did show a picture, but then.
Oh, no, this is the one with the where we're keeping one.
You were keeping one that was going to be pruned until only the left trunk was left.
Right.
And he says, the old oak seen in the photo below number 17. That is what he said in writing in memo he sent you guys about his recommendation.
I think he's saying number 17. That's the tree.
Okay, I was confused. It just seemed like he could be referring to,
Oh, I see. Yeah,
What?
seen in the photo below,
yes,
tree number 17, or seen in the photo below, tree number 17. All depends on how you read it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, tree number 17 has 3 stems, and he was talking about removing
2 of them.
2 of them and leaving one. So I think that he is referring to tree 17.
Okay. Thank you.
Easy.
Yep. Thank you for working on clarifying it.
Devil's in the details.
Grammar.
All right, let's move on from trees. And we've been jumping around a little bit.
Yes, so you,
You want us to introduce who's here, Cynthia?
beg your pardon?
Would you like us to introduce who's here?
No, right now I would like to go back to the motion about we will not remove trees number 8 and 9. They will be heavily pruned.
Yeah,
And you guys voted on that. And my attention just wandered for a half a second. I think you did.
yes, we did, right?
Thank you.
I don't know. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Cynthia. We don't know either. Okay, now we did. All set now?
Yep, thank you.
Income business, which is there more than just the warrant? Or it's just a
On the
bunch of,
agenda, it does say Finance Committee appropriations request.
Right.
yeah, that's what this
We
was, which
that
I
so we
can
talk about that
talk
as
to you
well.
guys about that later. We don't have to do that now.
Okay, then the main thing is the special
Alright.
meeting warrant.
And anything else you want to talk to us about? Since we have you here, like this is
Yeah.
a special
Wow.
occasion.
I know.
And actually, can you tell Cynthia
Big
who you
quarters
are
of
so
it.
that
Yeah,
she's our
pretty good.
recording secretary?
Almost a
I just
quorum.
put into the chat all the members of into the direct message to Cynthia with all the members of the finance committee. I don't
Oh,
know if you were
fabulous.
there, but-
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So, let's see.
Can we hear just who is there? Is everyone there? Or I still have Doug on this list, but
It's
I
It's
can't tell.
Megan, Thomas, and Al.
Okay.
Looking for Dan's email, because that seemed like the biggest one, sort of new things. Do you want to start? with
Yeah,
that?
this really came about because we found out how much free cash the town has at the moment. Seen that certification, I imagine. Free cash certification.
Certification.
Of 600 and some odd $1,000, right? So that is money that the town meeting can vote for any purpose.
Sure.
And it will disappear at the beginning of the next fiscal year, July 1st, because it rolls into the following year's free cash, which isn't certified. So my recommendation would be to mainly put it into stabilization where we can use it. It's like the town savings account. Then there were a couple of emergency things that were on our plate about these generators. So I've been going back and forth with Jim and Lori to some extent, because Lori was involved in solar installation at the town highway garage, which is planned. And Jim made these recommendations, which I put in that email about essentially replacing the generator at the town hall with a new, larger and more industrial sized generator, thinking that the town hall could be a shelter at some point and need extra electricity there. Also, it's running the freezers, which are now there. And they do eat a lot more juice. I should have prefaced this by saying that the generators, we have now 5 generators in place at 4 buildings and the water supply. And they're all Generac, essentially home designed generators for around $5,000 to $6,000 each. And they're 11 years old now. And the one at the town office building is failed. So there's some likelihood that others are going to fail coming along. So Jim's idea was to repair the one at the town office, which he thinks he can do for $1,500.
Not here? Town hall or? town hall?
Here,
Oh, here.
this one,
Okay,
the
this
town
one.
office.
Yeah.
The town hall is the one he's recommending to boost up to a higher grade generator because of the freezers that are there, the good neighbors. And also because it could be a shelter or a community sheltering place during an emergency. So recommending a new one for the town hall, repairing the town office. And then we looked at the library. Jim thought that in the case of the library, it would be better to purchase more battery backup for the solar system that's there, rather than upgrade the generator. That's also what he recommended for the highway garage, was rather than putting a new generator in there, putting a larger battery installation when the solar goes on to that building. But Lori has mentioned that that's not happening immediately, so we don't really need to worry about it right now. So the possible warrant articles would be airing the town office for $1,500, replacing the town hall for $18,000, and then potentially the adding battery backup to the library solar system for $24,000. So those are the 3 generator-related items that we could put on the warrant.
Can I just say one, I think we had talked about finding the money to repair just from our budget, because we don't want Jim to have to wait for the special town meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should have like a maintenance.
We do,
fund
we
that
have
can-
money in that maintenance account.
Right, originally we were going to pay for the maintenance and also buying a new generator out of the town building maintenance account. But I would propose buying a new generator out of the special town meeting.
Yeah.
Out of free cash and saving a little money in the town building repair.
Is there a
account.
regular maintenance cycle at this point that Jim's
Yes,
monitoring?
yes. Jim's been taking very good care of the
I
generators.
would almost assume.
Yeah, and they do take care. They have an oil level that needs to be checked and et cetera.
He said also when he knows that a storm is coming, he comes and checks them all, checks the oil, checks the spark plug, he like does that kind of thing.
So have they all just been failing, or did they all fail at this last storm that we had?
What was it?
No,
3 of
the-
them failed at this last storm?
No, the only one I know of that failed is the one here in the town office.
Okay,
And that needs to be repaired or replaced, and Jim's saying he
I
can
thought one other
repair.
one did too.
okay.
The town hall didn't necessarily fail, but it did get overloaded because it didn't have enough
Brown.
something.
Yeah, and then the
And that's what
MLP
made
one,
him
but that's
realize.
sort of a separate issue.
Yeah,
but
the
MLP had.
The hut one failed, but
that's
that's, the town doesn't have
That's
to worry about
separate,
that.
Gotcha.
Damn, it seemed like that was such a good deal.
Well,
It
we
was.
just fixed it and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll still be good for a while. One thing and I have to check with Jim, you probably didn't check with him after you talked to me today,
No,
that I'm a little, I don't know why I had this in my head based on some of the emails he'd sent, that it's possible we will need to upgrade, not necessarily to a bigger generator, but something newer or a different type to be able to tie in with the solar and the batteries. I'm not sure the current generators will allow, will be good enough to do that kind of a tie-in. But I have to check with Jim on that. I don't know for sure. But that would mean that any of these ideas of adding batteries or using batteries might also require just replacing with a residential, with, you know, one of the cheaper residential generators that will be compatible with batteries. So that could mean if we can really do this, so the battery at the library, that would be another generator. But again, we have to check with Jim on that. But I think we could keep the warrants the way, you know, these articles the way you have them written. Or, yeah, we'll see what Jim says.
Did you see the email Jim sent this afternoon?
Yes, I did.
I just
answered
printed it.
all my questions.
Wondering.
So any questions, FinCom, about that concept or thoughts?
Yeah, so for the generator replacements, is this something that could come out of grant money? Are there grants available for emergency preparedness that might cover costs for upgrades?
I read this and then.
I don't know if there are, but you know what, we did just do our hazard mitigation plan update. Glenn, I don't know if you remember if there was ever talk about that. I know there's another grant that we're gonna get the solar, we're gonna apply for the solar. That's the municipal vulnerability preparedness, and I'm pretty sure they do not do
They don't
generators,
cover generators.
not, you know,
Okay.
fossil fuel generators.
Yeah, yeah. pretty much.
But it
Oh,
might be
so-
worth looking, sorry, go ahead, Glenn.
We do have our consultant group on the lookout for grants for us. There were a number that they identified that actually the deadlines were too soon or had just passed, but they're ones that we could look at for next year, or some of them have other time periods, but I don't remember specifically whether it would have covered something like that, but these were all things related to our hazards mitigation plan that they thought we could apply for funding for.
And solar batteries might have, like, we're already, the highway garage is going to be something we hope to get from a
Okay.
grant.
Okay.
And the library, I know I had checked with Green Communities if they would ever do a battery, just a battery, and they said no. But the MVP might, but we're already, I don't know if we can do both in one
Okay.
cycle.
Should know.
Oh, Kelly had mentioned to me that's on the wish list for Swift River
She did.
for a generator.
I keep me, a generator or a
Generator.
solar and battery?
Generator.
Oh.
Generator.
Yeah, sorry.
You want
Sorry.
the solar and the battery.
Sorry, no, it was- Yeah,
I'm gonna have
and
to
I
talk to
said,
her.
I really thought there was something we really should be hunting for grant money.
Yeah, I'm not
So,
sure.
Given
other-
given everything else we're gonna have to put into that building. It's a good thing, but with some of the safety issues that are right up front, out of any budget. So it's something they could pursue, you know, grant, and probably have a pretty good shot at it, but
Yeah, my thoughts, I guess, on it is I think we should hold off until we can figure out a little bit more. And I know we were just talking in there at our meeting about kind of all the upcoming expenses that we're kind of getting hit with all at once. So I think things that we can push off a little longer, we should probably look to doing until we can get things a little more stabilized.
Is it something that we could do where we could schedule for like one at a time rather than
Yeah, that would
all of
definitely
them?
be
Yeah, I mean,
easier to do.
I was definitely kind of wondering that. I mean, I feel like with any asset, right? Like we would normally figure X number of years, we're gonna need to do this maintenance, this, you know, and that's something to upgrade. I think it'd just be great to try to get our arms around.
And that's something that we've been talking about recently, is trying to figure out, like getting a sort of a capital improvement plan. in
Yes.
place.
I know we
Yes.
brought that up, and that was something that I think came on last year's town meeting, and we had to get rid of, but yeah, I think that would be something that we should start to look at for generators and,
Yeah.
you know, including all kind of town equipment. figure out the life cycles. I mean, I'm not a pro or anything in those type of generators, but it seems like 10 years is fairly short for something like a generator. No.
Jim was complaining about a particular part in these
Yeah.
generators that of Chinese manufacturer that he found was disintegrating more rapidly than it should. And that's what happened to the generator here at this building.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we can maybe just keep replacing that for a couple more years, if it's, you know, seeing if, is it something that if we replace with either an OEM part or something more quality, we can, you know, make it last another 10 years?
Well, that's what he wants to do with this generator.
Yeah.
and repair it.
Sounds like the town hall, though, is another whole issue because of the load
Yeah.
that's concerned there. I mean, they need the
Right.
upgrade, otherwise you're gonna be messing up the generator that's there, or
Right, you're gonna fly up there.
alternatively, in order to preserve it, you could cycle, somebody
Yeah,
could cycle the
that's-
freeze, unplug freezers and cycle them through.
Because they're
So
probably
it's-
all coming on at once.
Yeah.
That's what it is, it's that heavy load in most freezers. You can leave them unplugged for how many hours a day
Yeah.
easily
Yeah.
before it's an issue.
What if, I mean,
So,
we
yeah.
talked about fixing this one here out of this year's current budget that we
Yeah.
have. So that's sort of off the table.
Yeah, I think that
And then
anything we can do out of that maintenance budget.
could we at least get the one for the town hall and then,
Battery backup secondary.
and then.
Yeah, because that one, depending on how long. We could put that on a future time and maybe there would be an ability to apply for a grant.
Are you talking about the town hall?
No, for
No.
any solar, any battery stuff,
The battery
there's
stuff?
more grant possibilities for that.
And then sort of put on that, a schedule, like to do the one at the library, you know, do the other ones that we're concerned about.
Mhm.
Um,
And Dan, do you remember, was it really just, there are only two, there's nothing like in between the 5,000 one and the 18,000 one?
Well, the big difference there is the size and the quality, because these are industrial grade. And it's a whole different
Yeah.
ballpark than the residential generator. Definitely lasts longer.
Well, I know too, even then, in this last storm, you know, people were asking, like, is there a building that we could, you know, could we use the town hall? Could we use this space or could we use that space? And it was unclear as to whether the buildings would be able to have like a bunch of different people, more people in it than sort of just keeping the lights on, that kind of thing.
Well, that's what we were thinking. If we were able to put the money towards putting one at the school, it would be more accommodating to have like a, you know, heating center, shelter or whatever.
And that's a bigger conversation because
Yeah.
of new
Yeah.
sound too.
Yeah.
Well, the town hall has a kitchen, our
Right.
town hall.
Yeah.
And that makes it very attractive as an emergency site.
Yeah.
And are we FinCom be comfortable with at least putting that one on the special? That generator?
It sounds to me that's the one that
Is needed.
it's obviously inadequate. And they're actually just pushing the machine that's there.
Mhm.
And it would seem to me the only way you could continue utilizing that machine is doing what I was saying, you would have to have somebody come in and cycle those
Yeah.
freezers. You know, but it's gonna come on automatically, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and there could be trees down.
Right, yeah.
Right, right.
There
yeah,
could be a
right,
problem getting to
right,
the
and
town
getting
hall.
to it, you know, it's like, unless you get a neighbor that wants to volunteer, you know, to walk over there. You know, so just saying that it sounds to me like what's there is inadequate. It's not really, it's not gonna work. And it's gonna take the unit out is what it's gonna end up doing.
Or the freezers.
Or
Yeah.
or the other side of
Or
it. Yeah,
melting the freezers.
I can attest to that where we had a rental unit that was on an inadequate generator and it burned out the refrigerator freezer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Thomas?
I'd say no, but if you guys want it. then-
Well,
Maybe you could talk to us about your concern, I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, concerns about the other pressures you're feeling for I think Dan is saying this free cash number is pretty good. That's like a strong
Yeah,
number.
I was on the FinCom for 17 years before I got on the select board. I've never seen a free cash number like this. This is completely outrageous. It's a huge amount of money. And I can only think that it came from ARPA. That we used
We were
ARPA
using-
money
yeah.
for things we otherwise would have paid for through town money.
We had all the other free money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's, that's sitting there and it at least should be put into stabilization where the town can use it in the future. But I would say that it's virtually an emergency to get that one generator replaced. If we have freezers full of food in there and we have summer coming up, when it can melt really fast and storms are increasing and that would be, and we could put it on the warrant and you don't have to support it at the meeting. The FinCom can make whatever comments they want there. You don't even have to recommend it. See what the town says.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Do you want to share that? I mean, we did talk about some concerns, right? Just in general.
Yeah, it's mostly, I think the big one that's coming up is the police. I know they're gonna be coming with a lot of different things that are gonna be increasing the budget with additional policing and the associations coming back with new negotiations. And then they're also looking at redistributing the split between Leverett and Wendell. So that all goes kind of against us in the terms of the budget.
Yeah.
So I think that our police budget is a chance of, probably doubling or tripling in the next year. So that's kind of one that I know is going to be quite large. Swift River has brought up quite a few concerns with some stuff in the building that's deteriorating very quickly. So, I know things like that can escalate very quickly.
We've asked Kelly to put together, and she started to put a list together, and she has estimates, but those estimates were done a while ago, and the way things have been going, and so, and I did a walkthrough with her, and there are definitive safety and security issues that have to be addressed, and in which those are going to be taken. But one of the things about is like trying to shore up some of those numbers, and when we get to the annual, to kind of inform the town, this is where we're headed. These items need to be addressed, and that about it, that you can't get around. We're going to need to spend the money. It's just a sort of the order priority for that, but to be transparent in the sense that these are going to be real numbers that we'll have to deal with in the next week.
Well, those are two really big things.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I mean, we knew the police thing was coming down the line when we first got into this with them, and they gave us sort of a free ride for a couple of years till they figured things out. But we knew that it's a big move going from Ed Chase, the one-man police department who ran a police department, a wonderful police department for $5,000 a year. It's a different world. We knew that it would be money.
And I think that the changes to policing,
Yeah.
Just
in general, and with going from not having part-time police officers to having full-time, like it has changed things.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that necessarily coming down the line.
No. The whole part-time police establishment seems to be disappearing, according to Scott Minkler. It's disappearing as a reality, which means full-time, and full-time means benefits, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I have a question about the warrant, if you all are ready.
Yep.
I know Carolyn sent me two articles. One's for $16 for a bill of prior year for the Board of Health, but the other's for $21,534 for Swift River School transportation. Does the FinCom have an idea about that and where that would come from?
Yeah, I think that one, I think we should be able to pull it from ARPA. That's what we were recommending we pull that from.
We were saying earlier that we kind of need to pull together a look at what we've done with ARPA and what's left. So I don't know if you all.
We were basing that off of how current was that?
I had sent them Carolyn's numbers from before, but I know there might be some updates to that. But also what's not in there is the PFAS
Oh,
money we've set aside for the PFAS
Oh, okay.
oh.
That was,
well, and there's something else.
We did the Kentfield Bridge. Our last vote was to take it out of ARPA, I think, or
Oh, I
keep it
thought
in
that
ARPA.
was the winter recovery.
Yeah.
Oh,
We went
okay.
back and forth on
Update.
that one a lot. It's just sort of like, it seemed like it didn't really matter one way or the other. We're gonna use it all up within the year. So we left it in ARPA.
We've been talking about how all these numbers are like moving targets.
Yeah,
they
and
are.
we're trying,
It's hard
and
for us to make.
we're trying to form some opinions and decisions for recommendations, but the money's like moving in so many different directions, or it's there or it's not.
Now, is that something you can just take from the free cash?
so, and I don't, you probably might have a better idea of this, if it's in free cash, because I know we use the free cash a lot to offset our tax rate by a bit. If we move it into stabilization, are we able to take stabilization money to offset the? Okay,
Yes.
so we can do that, all
Yeah,
right.
it has to be moved in there first.
Oh, I thought you were saying we couldn't.
No,
move
it
it
needs
from
to be moved into.
there. Okay, so
stabilization
yeah, we
first.
could use free cash, then we wouldn't take stabilization. But yeah, we could do that. So that was our backup plan.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna say stabilization, but we'll use free cash first.
Yeah, so would you move everything in free cash into stabilization and then dole things out from stabilization? Or can you take it directly from free cash?
You can take it directly from free cash. The town meeting can do that. The special can do it. So that was my recommendation, that we have these items first, the little items that we're
Pulling it out
spending.
of it, yeah.
And then the last one would be moving the rest into stabilization.
Yeah.
So I've got if we just do the town hall generator, that was 18,000.
It was 21, and I think that included the installation.
Oh, $21, right. And then one you were talking about was also 21.
21 and change, I think.
So yeah, it's 21,534.20 for Swift River Transportation.
Thank you, Glenn.
Now is,
Pretty close to identical.
so we were also going to take 90,000 out of stabilization for the Mormon Hollow culvert. So I don't know if it makes sense to just take that from free cash
Sure,
rather, and then,
just
Instead of-
simplifies one less
Yeah.
transaction.
We're hoping to see that back, yes.
yes, that's the one that
Yes.
we're hoping is not really gonna come out of our pockets, but we have to do it.
So
Do you guys have a figure for the free cash, or actual $600,000 number?
I don't have that. in front of me.
What is it? It's called something else. In the email.
Yeah,
Recovery, no. it's called-
it's not excess and deficiencies.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
This would be in excess, so to speak.
Which is nice.
You all are looking for the number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
685,407, that's 5% of the budget. Is that what it is?
I see. Okay, so based upon the audited balance sheet I submitted, I hereby certify that the amount of available funds or free cash as of July 1, 2022 is for the general fund for $411,433.00. And then they also list the amount for the MLP Broadband Enterprise Fund.
I apologize, I was looking at Franklin Tech's.
So did you say it was 400 and something?
$411,433.
Wonder how I heard that $600,000 figure.
We got some from Mahar and Franklin Tech, and I know I kept seeing those, wondering.
Yeah, I got,
Yeah.
got the one from Franklin. Thank you.
Yeah, I got the one from Mahar Franklin Tech, I guess. I didn't
Okay,
see
so the
that.
411 was the Wendell General Fund. Free cash. Is that right, Glenn?
That's correct.
It's a number that we have to work with, I guess.
Is it still good?
I sort of remember that number too, Dan. I definitely don't remember 400.
Well, I remembered 6, but that could be because of the school money was added.
I'm, popping it into your emails. Those of you who have smartphones, I'm going to take a look.
Yeah, I got it.
Got it. Okay, there we go. That's what you probably have it.
Yeah, February 2nd.
Cash certification. There we go.
Okay, gotcha.
Is that still a good number, 411?
I don't know. It is a good number.
No, I mean,
in
that's
terms of
what-
the town, yeah.
Yeah, no.
But it's actually closer to what I remember the years being.
Uh-huh.
And 600 seemed pretty outlandish. 400 is still very high. Is that the same number that everybody's getting?
411, 430.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, I
she's
think if
doing
I'm
pretty
reading
good
this
too.
right, last year we got
Got a way to get my cut.
I was about to say, I was about to say, it's time to
Or no,
cycle some of
that's
that
not.
back.
It might be time to cut the tax rate, huh?
Should be.
Wow. Maybe this
Yeah,
is
well,
the
you know,
wrong
that
spot.
some of that would help take care of the police
Total.
budget.
Oh, it's not put in there. Well, free cash from 2022 was just under $200,000, so it is still good.
Hey, Penny.
2023 is best year.
What's that?
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Good to see you. All right. Have a good night.
All right, so it looks like that's 3 more articles that need to be put together.
You've got 21,000 for the town hall generator. Right, and then 21 roughly. Or
Do you want that exact? Glenn, can you repeat the one that Carolyn sent you?
Now I'm getting confused. I'm in the middle one. Yeah, $21,534.20.
Thank you.
and the exact title on that expense.
Swift River School Transportation.
All right.
And there's $16 for a bill of prior year for the Board of Health.
Does that come out of free cash or does that just come from Board of Health?
That can come out of free cash.
I guess we have a little more time if we needed it to figure out where the money's coming from, because the warrant just needs to list what the item is, raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds, and then the motion includes
Right.
where it's coming from.
Right. But we do need a number for the stabilization, what we're putting into stabilization. So if
We
say
can change that too, right? If we need, we can make it,
you can't make it any greater on the floor, but you can make it, you can lower it. So if we're taking roughly 40, 42, 44,000, 411. And to,
did you get the
Oh, plus
90
the
too
90,
from
yeah.
the Mormon Hollow?
Or no?
no. Right, because that is coming out of it, isn't it?
You have the number we already have in stabilization right now, Andy?
I think 484,540 some change.
Dropping it in the spreadsheet because, yeah.
Other ideas we've thought of was the paving that we put off in the past couple of years to make sure we get caught back up with some of that stuff and up and, Bill, I think made it well known that that price is like doubled. I don't know if it's coming back down, hopefully, but
Yeah,
it was double what we were quoting the prior year,
right.
so.
Well, he might get some money back from a less expensive roof. Did he tell you that? It's the barn.
Oh,
He got a
yeah,
nice,
you mentioned
a low
that,
bid
Bill.
on that roof project,
Oh, nice,
which was coming out of chapter 90, so.
perfect.
We just get
Right.
concerned in some areas, if they're not paved, then we're gonna end up paying more for repairs.
Yeah.
You can only let it go so
Mhm.
far, and then the costs start to get away from the spiral out.
What do you have budgeted? 73 for that roof?
Now it's 40
Wow.
or around there.
So I have 132,550.20 cents. That makes sense?
For the remainder,
No,
For the
oh,
total-
132, yeah, right, and then
total free
subtract that from 411.
I was gonna say,
From
maybe-
411.
Well, 411
Yeah.
is the,
411,
Free cash.
433.
We're gonna get some back, don't worry.
Mhm.
Don't worry, Tom.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna strong arm, and we get it back. We have to.
Might cost as much for the legal.
Yeah,
fees.
yeah, so after you take out the fees and it might be 2 years later.
I think we just shame them.
$278,892.80.
that's what I got.
Okay.
All right.
So that would be the figure for a last article for transfer to stabilization.
Yep.
Yep.
Great.
Perfect.
What's the balance of stabilization now?
484,540.
Great. So it's not a bad
It's,
start.
yeah, it's a,
We like to get it over that $500,000
Yeah,
at least.
yeah.
You'll get there with the free cash.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, well, it's just that
But we have to pull quite a bit of it
Then
out
we'll
again.
spend it again.
Well, I can remember being on the FinCom and Lee Trousdale, rest in peace, was the chair, and he did a great job of saving money. And he wanted to get the stabilization over $1 million, was his goal.
Oh, wow.
So we got it over $1 million, we got it up to 1.2. And then the idea of building this building and the library and the water system came along.
Yeah.
And Lee said, we said, hey, this is gonna cost $3.5 million for these two new buildings. And
Mhm.
he said, well, we've got $1 million in stabilization, we'll borrow $1 million, and there you go. That's what we did.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it would be nice to see it back up there. So if we did have
Yeah.
big projects we needed it for.
Yeah, or a big emergency.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just we know when we get hit
That seems to be
now,
more likely the
Yeah.
case.
the repairs are just, they're just out of control.
Yeah,
So we can be thinking in terms of like what was good 10 years ago, by any means.
no,
It's just,
And the website committee is coming to us on March 1st for our meeting to talk about
Oh,
a new
the
website.
text. the
Yeah, and
text.
have some estimates and stuff like that.
So
That goes.
Cynthia will need all the kind of numbers that were just agreed to, and for the minutes, it was a little hard to follow some of the conversations. Dan, do you have all of that? Can I work with you in getting that to Cynthia?
because what I had is essentially round numbers, but that's okay for most of these. I think.
I have it in the spreadsheet too that I could
Well, there you
just share
go.
with you.
Oh, great, if you can share that.
They're
with me,
higher.
Cynthia,
What's the
that'd be great.
90,000?
More
Those for the,
than
Oh,
yeah.
Culvert, yeah,
Culvert.
culvert repair.
Here.
And then
Oh, go ahead.
we'll need to, the select board and I will need to coordinate about getting it, getting the warrant posted by Friday.
Yes.
the other thing we've been doing is coordinating with Carolyn about the benefits, health benefits for employees, survivors. And so she's really been digging in deep, because this is something Doug and I had been in a lot of discussion about it, but we kept putting it back and putting it back on other, because of other items. And now we really wanted to get a clear view ahead of what we're in for. And Carolyn's actually been putting together one heck of a good spreadsheet with either all the current or anticipated employees,
Mhm.
and looking at numbers right up to 33 at this point. Something we want to make sure is adequately funded. A while, exactly what we were looking at. So she's done a heck of a job of pulling that together for us.
Well, thank you, FinCom, for
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah.
It's really great to know that you're there doing what you're doing.
Do you need anything else from us?
I don't think so.
Good, thank you
Okay,
both.
good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks so much.
Are you guys ending the meeting now or is?
No, we got a few more things.
All right, then I guess the only other thing that I wanted to say, it doesn't really need to be part of the meeting, but I know, so like prior Doug was the finance coordinator and, you know, head of FinCom. And I just wanted to like figure out what the communication was supposed to be back between FinCom and you guys, because I know like a couple of times you guys asked us if we have recommendations on stuff, but and you being on the FinCom for so long probably know the rules better than me, but I don't know where we can and can't, you know, technically recommend stuff because we're supposed to meet. And a lot of times it's been, you know, only a couple of days notice between when you guys want kind of an answer for it.
Hmm.
And we, not one of us can kind of, and you can't really do it via email either. You have to have a meeting posted if you're voting on a recommendation like that.
Right, right.
So I wanted to figure out if there's a better way that we can kind of communicate with you guys on what is recommended or what's going on or what you guys are kind of discussing rather than, you know, I know the meetings are, the agenda's posted, you know, a little bit beforehand, but sometimes it's still sort of hard to coordinate us meeting with.
Do you guys have regular meetings now?
Yeah, we do the third Monday of every month.
And then we do working sessions that.
Yeah, as
when we're
required.
not voting. We do
Yeah.
task sessions.
Well, now's the time that's important because we're
Yeah.
rolling up to the annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when the FinCom and Select Board really have a lot to do with each other.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be meeting with you on a semi-regular basis, but now's a good time to be aware of it.
Yeah, okay.
And should we try to have like a regular, maybe once a month or just working up to it? Is that,
Yeah, I guess, yeah, if you
since we
guys.
don't have a
need-
coordinator right now who's going back and forth?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, yeah, if, I know it's hard for me and Megan sometimes with our traveling for work. Al, I know you mentioned that you're gonna try to be at some of these a little bit more, but I don't know if your schedule's allowing it at this time, but.
Wednesdays are clear.
So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of figure out how you guys wanted us to communicate with you and if you needed us more involved, or if you guys wanted to be a part of our meetings, or how that was gonna kind of play out.
I think we'd like to be more involved, and
Yeah.
vice versa. The more the better.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it in the past has been communication between chairs. So the FinCom chair and the select board chair would be talking on a regular basis.
okay,
But a joint meeting is,
Yeah.
especially with the annual coming up, is probably a good idea.
all right.
So Al, you think you're gonna come to select board meetings more? Is that what
What are
you?
you missing me?
Of course.
Yeah, I had a regular thing going
I know.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be great.
okay.
All right, and then,
Yeah, we might be able to try to focus any financial, if we can. I know it's not easy, but now that we know they're gonna meet third Monday, we can try to say our second Wednesday meeting. We can try harder to get all the financial stuff together so we can have it ready.
Should we just put it a standing item on the agenda for finance committee update, our first meeting of the month, and then if we don't have anything to discuss, we can just pass over it, but.
You know, we could just, because we previously had the finance coordinator report as a standing item on the agenda. So we could just switch that to finance committee report. Anytime anyone from the finance committee is able to come and give an update, that'd be
Or
great.
send an email as a document for the meeting. Would that work too?
Yep, that could work too, yeah. And,
okay,
I could summarize, for the good of the order, or just, we can list it in the documents for the meeting.
okay, and so
Yeah.
that's, you're just looking for a report and kind of anything that we're talking about and
Or questions
worried
that,
about, or
like,
like,
pay attention to select board, this is something we need input on, or.
okay,
Any,
Right.
any items that need a select board vote needs to be obviously listed in the agenda, but just general updates and questions and information sharing, that could be a good way to facilitate communication.
okay, yeah, that works. And then, yeah, as you said, as you guys need more from us with the special coming up or town meeting coming up, just let us know. Our attendance is required.
All right,
We'll try to get at least one of us here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Appreciate it, Thomas.
No problem, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good night. All right. So we wanted to talk more about the warrant posting, right?
Yep, so I guess I couldn't draft that. I think I will have enough information to be able to draft it tomorrow. And then I don't know how we should go from there. I can come in tomorrow I don't know when folks are available to sign. So say we going back and forth on email, we get a final version ready tomorrow. Maybe we look at Friday for signing and posting, but I don't know what people's schedules are.
I think I'll be here on Friday, but I am going away for the weekend. So maybe not too late on Friday.
Okay, yep,
Yeah, I'm flexible, Len, and I can do the posting if necessary. I'd happy to do that on Friday.
okay. So I could potentially not drive into Wendell. I've been, I did an experiment one time with just doing the remainder of my hours in Wendell one day, and the drive back and forth didn't really seem worth it, but
Yeah, I'm around too all weekend, so I can help out.
all right. So then maybe we'll aim to finalize it by the end of the day tomorrow, and then maybe we can make a plan now for who's gonna come in first on Friday, because I can email it to them and ask them to sign it and leave it for the others to sign.
So Laura, you could do that first thing Friday, maybe? Or- Or would you?
It's a little easier for me to do afternoon, Friday,
Maybe.
early afternoon.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
So
okay,
just because, yeah,
that's fine.
I have to work in the mornings and
Right, and it's better for me to do a little later.
Later in the morning. or-
Later in the day, or either really early or later in the day.
Well,
Either end.
if it's done tomorrow night, which is the
Yeah, then I
plan.
could either come in tomorrow
If you-
night
If you
or,
could do it first thing in the morning. on
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah, so once it's finalized, Gillian, I'll text you, email you, you can print it up, sign it, bring it in, and then we can just let the others know that it's ready. And then if Dan kind of pulls up as the last signer and poster with his warden capabilities, I'll also send you, Gillian, a form for Dan to sign, which is the notice of, what's it called, Dan? And
Return of service.
return of service, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I can do that.
okay.
and I can try to get here. I just work till noon usually, so.
And actually, you wouldn't need to sign it. Just let two of us sign it.
Right,
Oh.
right.
If you'd rather get it done earlier than that, then
Well,
sure.
if you don't have a problem with that,
I don't have a problem.
okay. Let's do that then, save you the trip.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And yeah, that way I can do it fairly early on Friday morning
Yeah,
after you.
I will do it between, it might even be, it'll be between 8 and 9.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll do it
Okay.
at 10 or 11. I'll post it.
Okay,
I appreciate the
Mhm.
coordination. Thank you all very much.
Likewise,
My pleasure.
and the warrant signed, we'll deliver it to Carolyn or put
Great.
it in her, is that what we do?
Yeah,
yeah.
all right, I think we still have an executive
Oh,
session here.
my goodness.
I know.
Wonderful.
I thought this meeting was gonna be short.
Oh, I know, me too. This will be quick, though. The executive session. will be
Okay.
All
quick.
right, so I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session and not come back into open session. The reason is to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body. And the chair so declares. Yeah.
Second.
Oh, and do we have to say, and Cynthia can stay and take minutes?
Do you need to state new national opioid?
Well, that's just the topic of
Okay,
that's, I don't think it needs.
okay,
Yeah, if we would like Cynthia to stay, then it should be part of the motion.
Yeah, so I'll add that to the motion, and Cynthia Boland can stay to take notes. Still second?
Still second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay,
Time, please.
time is 8:58.
Thank you.